It's long gone from times of old where crimes used to happen in the dark shadows of society and out of any visibility, or so it seems. Today's youth approach to crime is on the increase, and they've adopted a just don't give a fuck attitude, whether they do it in the presence of many witnesses or not. When you can't have a frigging coffee or lunch at a local cafe without something going down just takes a bacon. Our next story illustrates one such event that is quite shocking. Viewer discretion is advised. So whether you're a Grimmer or a Reaper, I am the Grim Reaper, so let's get it on. This is the case of the Godfather Café Shootings. It was back in November 2019 when two men were shot randomly from a gang of youths in broad daylight in the Cheetham area of Manchester. The gang was having a local get-together at the Godfather Café. That probably holds some significance to them, to what they thought they represented. However, not everyone agreed, and to be honest, some jobs in a cafe certainly don't fit that profile. The gang consisted of some 8 youths, aged around 15 to 16 at the time. It was on that day when the gang was tormented by another rival gang outside of the Godfather Café in a silver Mercedes on Cocktail Lane. There was 4 people in the vehicle: Hazar Anwar, who was 29, Daniel Ahmed, who was 24, and Ahsan Sabir, who was 20. There was a 4th suspect that we will come back to later. Being in a gang and this being your turf, or so they thought, they went out to investigate what the fuck was going on, all acting hard and cool. The rival gang in the silver Mercedes then slowly drove up the street and around the corner onto Cheetham Hill Road, with the other gang members from the cafe following in pursuit nearby. It was a busy afternoon on Friday 15th November 2019 at around 2:30 p.m. at the time this happened. Families and children was walking close by, including a family of 8, with 5 small children being in the immediate vicinity. Once the silver Mercedes was around the corner and the majority of the gang members from the cafe casually strolling in pursuit, then things took a sudden turn. In fact, all hell then broke loose. The front passenger from the silver Mercedes branded a firearm out of the car window, pointing the pistol towards the gang members who had been following, and opened fire, all randomly, with some apparent gun handling aiming skills. Around 4 to 5 shots was discharged, it was claimed by a nearby witness at the time. The gang members was observed on CCTV to be pegging it back around the corner in great haste from that where they came and down the road, fleeing from what was unfolding. 2 of the gang members had been hit by the drive-by shooting, one in the lower leg and another one in the ankle, and was later hospitalised for treatment. It was remarkable how there wasn't any further injuries, and also no one being seriously hurt or even dead, as these shots were totally random. It's not like you aim for the leg or ankle, after all, if you're willing enough to use a firearm. This was clearly to put sheer fright and cause harm, of which it did both to a degree. The occupants of the silver Mercedes rejoiced, and why not? They thought they achieved something that day. As they fled the scene, they fired the last shot into the air. Prior to this trial, Hazar Anwar and Ahsan Sabir had pleaded guilty to separate drug trafficking offences after being involved in commercial dealings. Daniel Ahmed pleaded not guilty to the courts of supplying cocaine, heroin, ketamine and cannabis. He was convicted of possession with the intent to supply cocaine and ketamine, but however was acquitted of dealing heroin and cannabis. The occupants of the silver Mercedes was later arrested, and they was heading towards an inevitable trial. At the trial that was heard at Manchester Crown Court, it emerged that there was a fourth occupant, who was alleged named as Mr. Sabir's brother, Faizan Sabir. He was not present in court, however, as the day after the shooting he had fled the country. The prosecution team alleged that Hazar Anwar, who was 29 of Redfield Close, Beswick, was the driver of the silver Mercedes. Both Daniel Ahmed, 24 of Esmond Road, Cheetham Hill, and that of one Hassan Sabir, 20, who was Greenstead Avenue, Cheetham Hill, was mentioned as being in the back of the vehicle. All three was being charged on 2 accounts of causing grievous bodily harm with intent, along with being accused of possessing a firearm with the intent to cause fear and violence. Zain Safraz had hired a silver Mercedes for Hazar Anwar. Later on, she had phoned and reported that same silver Mercedes had stolen to the police. The ex-girlfriend of Hazar Anwar lied to the police to try and protect her ex-lover in an attempt so that he would avoid being convicted. She initially told the police that the silver Mercedes that was involved in the shooting had in fact been stolen. Some 2 weeks later, after the shooting, she still persisted with her original story of stating that the silver Mercedes that she had hired had in fact been stolen, with herself not knowing it was ever involved in any kind of incident, and persisted her lies to the police. It emerged, however, later on through a hearing that she had in fact lied, and later confessed she had lied to the police. Pause the video for a second and let us know in the comments below what you think went down in court. Take a moment and pass judgment, or maybe not. What if you were one of the jurors? What would you do? Did the lover, Zain Safraz, escape any consequences from lying to the police of the alleged stolen Mercedes? And if you like this video and would like to see some more, then please do take a moment to like and subscribe, as it really would help us. Thank you so much for doing so, and now let's continue. On the charge of 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm with intent, Hazar Anwar was found guilty. Hazar was officially charged with 5 offences that included possession of a firearm with intent to cause fear and violence, conspiring to cause grievous bodily harm with intent, possession with intent to supply controlled drugs, namely cocaine, and concerned in the supply of Class A drugs, namely heroin. Hassan Sabir was acquitted. The jurors couldn't reach a verdict in Daniel Ahmed's case. Zain Safraz of Hyde Park Road, Halifax, who had lied to the police from the start, narrowly escaped jail time by lying about the stolen Mercedes. She, however, did receive a suspended prison sentence after admitting perverting the course of justice. The Greater Manchester Police created a special dedicated response called Operation Hamas as a specific response of these two shootings to deal with the ongoing concerns from the public, being that this was the 53rd shooting in Greater Manchester of that year. This was to reassure the public by stepping up presence in the area and allow everyone to go about their usual business in peace and safety, whilst making Manchester a safer place for everyone. Is Manchester a much safer place now than when it was then? Or do you believe that the young are just getting bolder and bolder with what could only be classed as idiocy, without thinking through any consequences of their actions and what any repercussions could be? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this story and would like to hear more crime and bizarre related content, and please do take a moment to like us, subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Until the next one, I am the Grim Reaper and I am out.